Here's a tutorial on Scarlatti's K380 Sonata. And we're going to break down a little bit of the first page up to the first fermata. So when approaching the first part of the piece, it's kind of nice to try using both hands overall for the first 4 bars. So we would end up doing instead of one hand, which is doable, but I think with both hands you have a bit more control. Similarly, when you get to measure 5, we'll approach in the same manner. So we have and then you'll have to switch to right hand playing the melody that's in the treble clef. Going on to measure 11, the measure right before, we have the scale that goes down. And then what I like to do when I get into measure 11, I like to do a cross over with the 4th finger to D sharp. So we have so that kind of avoids breaking the line of the scale going down to D sharp. Once we get to measure 12, just being mindful of your right hand thumb with the notes, the inner voice with the stem going down. So notice that that's a dotted half note. So you want to make sure that you're holding through the bar while you're playing the upper voice. So we have hold, etc. In terms of trills, so in all of these trills where we have, and then at the very end of the piece where we have, so approaching on the upper note, so the note that's, there's the note that's written, but you want to start the trill on the note above. So keeping in mind the sharps and the key. So in this case, measure 2, it's written trill on the F sharp, but you're going to approach starting on the G sharp. Similarly, in the left hand, measure 6. And then at the very end of the page, up to the fermata, we have one last trill. So we have starting on the C sharp, going down to B. So I'm going to go ahead and play starting from measure 9. I'm just going to play the bass part first, and then I'll play just the treble clef part so you can follow along with your practice. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. this next section, measure 19, starting at 19, we have this B section of the piece. So my approach, starting at measure 20, writing in the fingering here. So I like to start off with, so you can start with 1-5 in the bass. And then for this last beat of the measure, I like to do 2-5, 1. So that way I can hold the F sharp in the bass, which is a quarter note. So we have, and then back leaping down to the low F sharp. When we're approaching measure 22, with a lot of these repeated notes going up the scale, I like to approach just a very light touch. Instead of a very heavy touch, so think overall very light. And going into measure 24, here's another ornamented part of the melody. So since we do have a repeat at the end of the section, you could approach the trill initially maybe just no trill. So you could do just what's there on the page, G sharp, F sharp, and then maybe on the second time you can add in the trill. And again, with the approach on the trill, looking at measure 25, that trill on the A sharp, you want to approach it on the upper note, so it'll be on the B. And then here's our light touch. And then I like to do 4-1 cross to the 5th here at measure 27. And that would be my approach to that. Keeping in mind, you always want to do something a little bit different on the repeat, so you can kind of pick and choose how you want to do the ornaments. But again, when you're practicing through the piece, always consider no ornaments at all. So even for example, when I'm looking at measure 32 and 33, you could just do so I just did all the big notes, so no ornaments, no appoggiaturas, nothing. And then adding in the appoggiatura. So just getting used to the rhythms initially. So I'm going to go ahead and play through each part for the B section. So starting off with the left hand, followed by right hand. So you can go ahead and practice along with me. So my pulsing will be 1, 2, 3. So now we're looking at measure 41 to 56, the next section. In terms of rhythm, we're going to be extra cautious about the tie over the bar line. So on the top system there, we have that last eighth note of the measure going into the downbeat of the next measure with the tie. So overall we have So in terms of counting, we would count 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2 and 3 and then measure 45 is a little in terms of rhythm, just be careful on the end of that measure because we do have a 16th and some 32nd notes. So we have counting the subdivision, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a. So I'll try that one more time. So we go 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a. So that on the 2/16 at the end. So when in doubt, just don't even worry about the tie, pretend it's not there. So then we have 1E and a 2E and a 3E and then that way, once you're comfortable, you can add in the tie as well. And also considering no trill for the time being for that one. Moving on, again, the same thing applies that we saw in the previous section. So measure 47, we have this figure, 2, 5, 1, and make sure you hold the pinky on the quarter note there. And then also looking ahead at 58, we have that same exact pattern. 2, 5, 1. Making sure you hold the pinky on the B. So another part of this section to kind of be careful about, because we do have holds on the middle voice. If we're looking at 50, 51, 52, 53, actually technically 52 with that tie on the last beat of the measure. This is where fingering is really important so that we're able to hold these longer notes on the bottom. So we have, I'll start from measure 50. So we go. So notice that I did 1, 5, 2, 1, 2. Or if you can, some people can also do 2, 5, 1, 2, 1. So whatever's comfortable for your hand. And then going into this measure here with the D natural, my hand's a bit small, but luckily I can kind of still reach it. We're gonna go hold that thumb, 5, 4, 5, 4, 3, 1, 4, 3, 4, 1, 5, 4, 3, 1, 4, and then 3, 2. And then I'm going to reposition my hand for this next tie on the top note. I could do 2, 5 on that. 1, 2, 1, and then we're going to do the same kind of fingering. 4, 5, 4, 3, 1, 4, 3, 4, 1, 5. And then that's it for the holding. trill starting on the B, and then resolves to B. So yeah, just be careful when you're practicing that section. Don't overdo it. If you feel like it's really straining and it starts to hurt a bit, just take a break, come back to it. Or you could even just pretend that you're holding that bottom note, but you're practicing that 5-4-5 situation. 5-4-5, and then you can add in the thumb part. So I'm going to break this up into 2 parts here. So going from 41 to 49, just the bass part. And then I'll have like a little pause, 50 to 56, and then I'll switch to right hand. So we have 1, 2, 3. Here's measure 50 to 56. And then 57 there. On to right hand. Here's 50 to 56. Here's 57. I'll be playing measure 57 to basically the end of the piece. And I will do left hand first, followed by right hand. So here's our pulse. 1, 2, 3.